All right. Joining us today is Robyn Mroszczyk, and that's the only time I'm saying that. She is the Army's lead financial education program manager, an accredited financial counselor, and a military spouse. Robyn, thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. I think this is really important, and I don't think we talk about it enough, but I think it's something that we all should probably need a little bit of help on.
I would agree with you on that one. Yeah, and thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to talk to you about this really. We were talking about it in the office before we started, and I think this is just something that, like I said, we all need a little bit of help on, and finance is hard to talk about. So no,
Yeah, it is.
talk about it.
Taboo subject,
Yeah.
right?
So let's just
Yeah,
dive right in.
sounds good.
Why does the Army care about financial literacy for its soldiers?
Yeah, we all know that soldiers are really responsible for maintaining their financial readiness, right? And they're expected to pay their financial obligations in a proper and timely manner. And financial literacy education really provides that kind of functional baseline of common knowledge and skills and behavior standards for all soldiers and their families to be able to enable them to manage their financial affairs in a way that's also going to support mission readiness.
Right. And so I understand that there are some requirements, which actually I didn't know until just very recently. So what are they and why?
Yes. Right. Yeah. So big changes, right? So actually, the National Defense Authorization Act for FY16, yes, you heard me say that for 16, but it implemented a change in the military retirement system and created the blended retirement system, or AKA BRS. And at the same time, and to protect all service members, the NDAA also mandated a number of these common military training requirements, and that included financial readiness at just various different personal and professional milestones throughout a soldier's whole life cycle. So each of the services actually have to meet standard learning objectives, and that those are going to increase financial readiness training truly from an informational and awareness level just to an understanding and decision making level that's required to manage those increased responsibilities. So yeah, all of these milestones. So we really actually went from kind of this ancillary training to standardized curriculum. So regardless if you're at Fort Sill and you PCS to Fort Hood or to Fort Drum, you're going to have consistent standard education. First time ever. And it's super exciting, right? So, all of the milestones in this, quite a lengthy list of them, right? So, is actually, I'll start from the beginning if you don't
Okay.
mind. Future soldier training. So, we are the first service to actually have training before soldiers even come in. So, even before they're soldiers, before they raise their hand, they'll have financial readiness
That's
training
awesome.
before they even come in. I know, right? It's really exciting, right? Because we know that in our public system, right, school system, we haven't statistically had personal finance as a topic. So
I
I
don't
have a
know
four,
how to write a check.
right? Although to be fair, some days I'm even like, stop, rewrite. So I have a 14-year-old. He's going to be 15 next month, which just is scaring me. And they don't do anything on personal finance. So of course he gets it from his mom, but that's not nearly as cool. It's just like, here's mom talking about this
Yeah.
again, right?
Right.
But it made me realize when I came into the position, I was like, gosh, we got to be able to make this a little bit easier for people to digest. So we have training for future recruits before they even come in. And then we have initial entry training. And when we go and look at where this is, it's in the institutionalized training, right? So we've got basic training for enlisted, and we have the basic officer leader course. So really kind of the pre-commissioning source, ROTC, West Point, whatever that may be. So you get standardized training there. And then for what's labeled as first duty station, that's during advanced individual training for enlisted. And for the first time ever, I feel like singing the song, right? First time in forever.
Have
For
a
the
copyright
basic,
for that.
I know, right? Coffee break. Is the basic officer leader course for their branch, so BOLIC B, and that is going to be for post commissioning. They're going to go and to receive a level of training. We'll talk about that later. But then you have all of these kind of other outside of that institutionalized training and really getting after those personal and professional milestones that I was talking about. So we've got permanent change of station and promotion, and then we've got pre-deployment and post-deployment, which right now is really applicable, right?
Yeah.
And then we get into these more personal ones, marriage, divorce, welcoming a new child, whether that's a birth, adoption, or blending a family, right? And then we have disabling sickness or condition. So this is going into the Army Recovery Care Program. When a family is first enrolled in the Exceptional Family Member Program, first time ever. And then we have, remember how I mentioned the blended retirement
Mhm.
system, right? So there's milestones that are geared towards those. So vesting in the thrift savings plan, that hits at the 25th month. So that's really relevant for those that are under the blended retirement system who are automatically enrolled. Why? Because that's when they start to receive matching in their thrift savings plan. So that's really big. So we want to make sure that we're educating them on the TSP. I worked at the TSP prior to coming over here. So this is really important to me because I think in the Army as a whole, we don't have a lot of knowledge on how to go into manage. I don't know, even same for FERS employees as civilians, a lot of people aren't understanding that as well, right?
You have
And
to
so
get your password and everything mailed to you. So when you want to do it, you can't do it. And then you have to wait and you remember to go back.
right? And then on all of those, and how about the fact that prior to BRS, you're automatically put into one fund and it was just set
Yeah.
sitting in there, right? So a lot of people don't know, and I've had so many times over my career, of 14 years as a financial counselor, where people are like, I've never logged into my TSP account. I'm like, okay, like let's do that now, and check in, make sure that we're managing that, right? So the vesting in the TSP is just giving kind of that forcing mechanism to be able to say, all right, let's stop, let's check back in.
Sure.
And then also continuation pay. So continuation pay under blended retirement is meant as a mid-career retention bonus. And so obviously, one of our senior leadership's top priority is retaining talent, right? And so continuation pay is meant to go in to do that. So right now, we're seeing that people who are eligible for continuation pay aren't even getting the education on it and therefore are missing that critical window to be able to go in to apply for it. And right now there's not processes in place to be able to do exception to policy. They have to go through a Army Board of Corrections for military
Oh,
review. So that can be upwards of 2 years before that can go through. So this milestone is critical to be able to go and to provide that training and that education.
sure.
And then the last big one is leadership training. And this one is really important. So the Sergeant Major of the Army, so SMA Grinson, who's
Mhm.
phenomenal, by the way. I get to talk with him on a monthly basis. It's so exciting,
I
right?
was
He's
Air
such,
Force Tom before
he's
that
so
May.
passionate. Yeah, he's very passionate, all packaged in a very loose, personality. But he is so, I guess, just he sees the value of financial education, right? And he sees the value of it in leaders. And so he asks us to put financial readiness training in all levels of enlisted professional military education. And we've done that. So I'm talking basic leader course, advanced leader course, senior leader course, master leader course, and the nominative leader course. We have education in every single one of it. And it's all sequential and it's progressive. So it's not all the same, right? Because
Sure.
not everybody is learning that and not everybody's in that same point in their career. So when we set out to look at, all right, this mandatory training requirement, we really looked at the total needs of the total Army. So compos 1, 2, and 3, because that's what I have to do is I have to look at all 3 compos and see how we get after that. And we really realized that we couldn't rely on that traditional learning model of in person, right? And that's just not going to work for our Army for financial literacy and counseling as being in person. And we can totally see that because of the COVID environment
Sure.
as well, right? And I truly believe that generational shifts have necessitated a change in the look and feel of content to really make it a more effective tool, right, towards readiness and being and family support. Because we
Yeah.
also need to incorporate our families. I know you're a spouse,
Yeah.
I'm a spouse,
Yeah.
right? We need to incorporate our family.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the I guess I'll also say is that the different constraints of all of the components within the Army and having kind of the geographically dispersed folks, they all need to have the same level of a standard for financial education. So I'm excited about what we've created. So we've actually created a threefold approach so that soldiers can take this common military training. And I have to keep saying common military training actually because it is on the same level as SHARP, the same level as cyber awareness, right? This isn't just
Yeah.
Army came up with this good idea, fairy idea, and it's like, okay, I need to go and have financial readiness training. No, it's mandated by the law. It's incorporated in the Common Military Training Department of Defense instruction. Okay, so it has to be done. But it doesn't have to be done in a one size fits all, right? So we can have soldiers going to take it through distributed learning. So that's kind of your typical computer based learning through an open source platform on the Army Family Web Portal. So soldiers, families, whoever is that support network, that soldier's person, right, can go in to take the training, and then can also go in to take it face to face with one of our free confidential personal financial managers or counselors that we have, or in a group setting, right, which we some people really like that, and sometimes it's just what we have to do because of the mission, right?
Yeah.
Pre-deployment, post-deployment, those
Right.
tend to group those.
It's
Um,
me. Oh, sorry.
oh
But
no, go right ahead. Sorry, I've got you on multiple screens.
it's funny that we're talking about this because my husband just redeployed and he's actually at his redeployment financial counseling this morning. So this is very timely.
Yes, and congratulations. I mean, that what a huge. We've been through 3 deployments ourselves, and that excitement and that build up, and they come home, and then you're like, whoa, I've been taking care of everything for the
Yeah.
last however many months. Wait, you're back in my life. Okay, we got to figure this out.
And
Yeah.
it's
So I
easier said than done.
it is, yeah, it is, and that's why we included it in all of our training, resiliency training,
Yeah.
right? We included verbiage and language, and really encourage our families to also do attend as much as they
Yeah.
possibly can, right? Which we know is hard. Look, we're both working,
I
right?
know.
You can't attend right now because we're
I
going
can't,
and doing this.
but
Don't
I'm
worry, I can help
volunteer,
you out
so
later. But yeah, so that's why we really thought it was important to go and to be able to allow our soldiers and their families to be able to access it when
yeah.
and where they wanted. And we also went and really looked at how we go and give modalities for support. So we still have our standard video conferencing, right? Our in
Yeah.
person, you can email, you can text, our financial counselors to be able to get that support. So we are so excited about what we have rolled out
Yeah,
this year. And I just have to give a plug. We really couldn't have done it without a gratuitous service agreement with the USAA Educational Foundation. So they have been a tremendous support for us. And we really think we're revolutionizing the way that we're learning and speaking about financial, issues and personal finance. So
right.
yay.
And you said something too that kind of made me think of something. We have to this is a different generation. You know, I if I go into a bank, I don't actually know what to do. But my bank is also I don't there's not a physical bank. But anytime I have
Done here.
exactly. But anytime I've ever had to go to a bank, I'm like, "What form do I use?" I have no idea what to do.
Yeah. And it's just it's getting more electronic
Yeah,
based, right?
but that's how
And
we live now.
that is. And so why do we go and continue to go around this circle of creating content that is old school,
Right,
right?
right.
Let's get up to the times. And get we're on apps, we're on all of this. And I think that helps when you have someone that's in the program that is kind of used to those different modalities,
Or
but and that's what we're really trying to go in to do. We're trying to shake things up a little bit.
yeah. I like it. So, like you said before, this isn't just about mission readiness. We're talking about setting soldiers up for success in all stages of their career and beyond the Army, really. So, taking that a step further, let's talk about some of those stages. So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
go.
joined the Army.
Yep.
What should I be doing? I just got to my new installation, my new duty station. I need a car. How do I make sure that I don't end up in a situation where I have an 18% interest rate in an $80,000 truck? But I did just get a bonus. So maybe I
Yeah.
can pay for that truck. Because they won't sell it to me if I can't afford it, right?
R- Right. Right, Ashley. They won't do that at
They
all.
won't. So what do I
Yeah.
do?
So that's a fantastic example. And I think we often hear the story of a, brand new E1, E2 or O1, because
Yeah.
let's also be real about that too,
Yeah.
who went out, got that high interest, high dollar loan for a car that they can't afford, right?
Right.
And a lot of times, well, I want to think that that's going to be just a rumor. Fortunately, I know that it's true.
Yeah.
And I can see that in all the 14 years of going and working with soldiers, I can absolutely go in to see that. And I think when we look outside of these protective installation gates, right? There really are businesses that are not out there working in the best interests of our soldiers,
Absolutely.
right? And maybe that's the downfall of having pay charts plastered all over all over the internet,
Right.
right? And same thing with BAH rates, right?
Yeah.
And the housing crisis we can see right now is, we put out full transparency, but then we kind of unfortunately have to take the ramifications of that too, right? And a lot of times these businesses know that they can get to the command, right? If they don't receive their money. And for a lot of these new soldiers, having a steady paycheck, maybe the first time ever that they're receiving money away from their, family support network. And
Right.
and I remember that excitement. Like I've been with
Yeah.
my husband for 25 years, married for 18. I remember us going and being fresh out of school and getting married right after. I mean, I'm talking like the day after graduation, and and going and being stationed at Fort Sill,
Yeah.
Oklahoma. And having that kind of honeymoon period, right? Of like, oh my gosh, we're living on our own. This is so exciting, and and I'm not here to say that you can't splurge right here
Sure.
and there. Um, but it's imperative to really kind of get down to the basics. And that's money in versus money out. That's really what it comes down to, right? Is
Yeah.
money in versus money out. And setting up a spending plan that's going to work for you. My
Yeah.
spending plan is not going to look like the person sitting next to me.
Right.
Even though on paper we may be same rank, everything, and be getting paid the same exact amount. We're our situations aren't going to be 100% the same. So
Right.
we shouldn't be doing that. Oh, hey, Jack, what do you've got on your spending plan? I'll just replicate it. No, we need to be looking at them in an individualistic way. And so it really truly comes down to that money in versus money out, creating that spending plan and realizing that that spending plan is something that's going to evolve with you. It's not going to go and to be the same today as what it's going to be,
Oh, absolutely.
down the road, right? And it's not meant to be. And that's kind of the blessing about in the army is that as long as you do what you're supposed to, you're going to get promoted, which means you're going to get more pay,
Right.
right? So you don't want to always be living on that spending plan from when you first came in.
Sure.
But I really believe that it's also hard in this lifestyle to not resist that you know oh, keeping up with the
Oh,
Joneses,
sure.
right? And social media pressures to go and to have the next
Absolutely.
best thing, and that's really difficult. And so that's why in AIT and BOLIC B, we have a really robust training where we get after this. So we're analyzing, the financial implications and identifying strategies for major purchases,
That's awesome.
like a major vehicle purchase, right? Um, but also how to access eligible credit protection benefits, right? So the fact that there's the Service Member Civil Relief Act, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and, all these different benefits, the Military Lending Act that are out there to protect soldiers. So that way when you're maybe you don't have that option and life has gotten it and you need a car and you have to go off of that installation, but you're walking into it more educated, right? And
Absolutely.
so you can kind of spot those things. So we teach about buying a car, and we also totally understand, I've been there, that getting training during AIT and Bullet B is like drinking water out of a fire hose, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot coming at you, and you're probably not going to retain an awful lot of it. So that's why we posted all of our videos and handouts and calculators and other tools on our Army's Financial Readiness official website, financialfrontline.org. And so now people can go out there, they can go and do the training, they can come back when they get to that first duty station, maybe when now they got married along the way or they have a family, and they can sit down and look at all those resources, maybe when they have a little bit of that
Yeah.
downtime, and be able to explore it.
Well, and so a couple of things you said. The oh gosh, I'm losing my words. The creating the spending balance. I forget what you called it. Spending
Spending plan,
plan.
because a budget is a hideous word
It
for
is.
some people, right?
It really is.
Spending plan sounds more fancy.
So, can I go to a financial counselor on post and have them help me do that
Yeah, absolutely.
for
So
free?
we for free, and I want to go into be able to say there's so many different stigmas that are attached with going and
100%.
accessing middle military resources, right? A lot of times it's well, they're going to report back to my command. No. Mm-mm,
Yeah.
no. So it's a free confidential resource. The only time that there is going to be an issue if there's a duty to warn situation, right? Where you're going to say that you're going to harm yourself or someone else. That's a duty to warn situation. But the rest of the time, no, it's between you and the financial counselor or the manager, right? So, and it doesn't mean that you have to walk right in to the ACS center and say, "Here I am. I need assistance," right? Because that's hard to go and to do that.
Yeah.
So you can go and do it virtually, just like what we're doing right now, or go and to do it over email.
That's awesome.
absolutely can go and do it. And actually, we have a spending plan worksheet on our website. We use it consistently because it doesn't make sense to have something that looks different every time you
Oh,
go in to look
absolutely.
at it. So it's a spending plan worksheet that you can download, that you can go and change. We don't hold any PII or anything on our website. So it's for you, and you can update it as you go. So that's a really great tool and resource.
Yeah.
And another thing that we have on our website that I'm super excited about is a self-assessment tool. So it's a high level tool to really get after kind of your financial picture in 5 minutes or less. Again, we don't save any of the PII. You go on, you go and answer some questions, and it gives you that kind of red, amber, green of where you're at and things for you to think about, right? And it covers multiple different areas. So I encourage, everybody to go in to look at it and then go back later and do it again when a new life event happens. So
Yeah.
we have those tools and resources, and again, we don't require it to be an in-person, everybody sit in a room across the table and make it be, intimidating. No, we've opened up that. And if you want to go into talk with a personal financial counselor, maybe you don't want, or you're not buying an installation, you can actually go on our website, thefinancialfrontline.org, scroll to the bottom, click on the where to go to find help, and it'll take you to a map to find a personal financial counselor.
Wow.
So you can be like, oh, hey, you know what? My husband or my wife or whoever it is deployed right now, but I really want to be able to go in to talk with someone, but I went back home to be with my
Yeah.
family support during a deployment. So now I'm in uh it's Iowa, and maybe there's not an installation, an army installation by there. Go on it, click on Iowa, boom, all of the personal financial counselors that are there, and you can go and use any of them. The personal financial counselors are a joint resource, so they're not tied just to that service. So
That's
you can
awesome.
use them free,
Yeah.
confidential.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And we are going to link that website in our show notes. So if anybody listeners want to find it, it'll be right in the show notes. So we've talked about just joining the army. Let's skip ahead to what's happening when I'm retiring. What is available to help me?
Yeah.
That's a big
So
transition.
yeah, retirement, that is, we talked on the blended retirement
Mhm.
system and the fact that this is now going and placing more of an onus on soldiers because they're getting that blended uh, con- I guess we'll say blended retirement. So it's the defined benefit portion where there's going to actually be that pension that we hear about, right? That's why people want to stay in for 20 years, is so that they can get that pension. But that is coupled under blended retirement with a defined contribution, meaning that if they go and contribute a percentage of their pay, the Army will go and give an automatic 1% and up to an additional 4% for matching. So a total for 5%. So if you're putting in 5%, they're going to go and give you the auto 1% and then the matching 4%. So that's critical, right?
Yeah.
And when we look at that all ties into retirement planning, and we have so many different resources to be able to get after it. Our website, thefinancialfrontline.org, has calculators that are on there. But one other resource that I think is tremendous that I always need to go out and promote is the My Army Benefits website, right? So this is a CAC login. So you CAC in and it pulls all of your information, and they
Ah,
have retirement planning calculators on there. So I've done it with my husband, is to go on there and go and look at, okay, where are you now? And it kind of just calculates it all out. So I can see for me, because I'm the person who does all the planning in the family.
same.
And yeah, right. And most significant others are, right? Just because
Yeah.
this is the nature of the beast. But you can go into plan that out and look and see, all right, where am I going to be here, here, and here? But another great resource, actually, I need to tell you about on the My Army benefits is the survivor benefits. This
Oh,
is an area that we don't talk about. We talk about finances being taboo. Boy, talking about survivor benefits is just on a whole new
yeah,
level. And I was a survivor outreach services financial counselor when we were stationed at Fort Knox. And I find this so critical is a lot of people think that their soldiers are invincible, nothing's going to happen, right? And that's just not true, right? For a lot of people. That's the reason why we have the survivor outreach services program. That's why that program exists. It's because
yeah,
of that. And so, what I just encourage everybody, and we do this in our pre deployment training, we do this in our marriage, we do actually in most of our mandatory training, where we encourage our soldiers to go on to the My Army benefits page with their family prior to, we don't want to, we want to be preventive. We don't want to be reactive. So going and looking at, and saying, okay, you know what? I have my two children. It's myself and my husband. Okay, so if something happened to him, here is what the benefits would be. Okay, so here is what we would be eligible for. That allows you to be able to kind of plan things out a little bit more and then be also able to have that as a tool going into a deployment, right? And I know we're talking retirement and transition, but this is so critical. So that way you're going and having a plan of action. So I incorporate all of that into retirement planning because as long as you're still in, this is all retirement planning, right? And so we have that. So that's a great tool. We also have, as you're about to transition out, we have the transition assistance program, right? And a lot of the times, people are going to be like, okay, I'm going to retire in 3 months or 5 months. That's way too late to be attending that type of program.
sure.
You should be looking 365 days, right? At a minimum. I know my husband has 2 years left before he hits 20. We plan to stay in, right? We love this lifestyle, but it's something to think about. And now should be when he starts to be going and looking into that and start taking some of those classes because life on the outside is a little bit different,
Yeah,
right? And so we got to start planning for those things now rather than too quickly, before you retire or after the fact.
yeah.
So those are some really great resources in the Soldier for Life program.
I have so many questions. I feel like we could talk about this forever, but I know that you are busy. So I just have a couple more and then I will
Sure.
let you go. Maybe we can do like a part 2 down the road.
Yeah, go for it. You keep going.
Um, so I heard you say before that financial issues are actually the second top reason that security clearances are adjudicated. Can you talk about that? Like what sort of things are looked at and why is
Yeah.
financial issues?
So this has really changed in the last couple of years. So the Department of Defense has moved towards this continuous evaluation process.
Yeah.
And essentially what that is it's kind of like a vetting process to review the background of someone who is determined to be eligible to access the security clearance, right? And continuous evaluation really kind of leverages the automated record checks. Remember, I said that automated and the business rules to assist in an ongoing assessment of a soldier's continued eligibility. So the goal is early detection, right? To address those potential indicators and financial security and is one of those. It's the second one, right? And then mitigate those triggers before it can be labeled as a potential insider threat. And I'm putting that in loose quotes, right? So, and the Army actually makes up the largest amount of continuous evaluation enrollees. And so this newer system is one that is replacing the 5 to 10 year periodic review. So whereas it used to be, okay, I'm gearing up, I'm about to hit my periodic review. I have a 10-year point,
Right.
and now it's going to go and look at it, for everything that that has happened. Nope, this continuous evaluation is now going to go and pop these things hot right from the very beginning. So it's meant to be able to say, okay, we recognize that there's this potential problem, and now we're going to give you that opportunity to fix it, before we go and just say no. So a lot of the times commanders receive that information by email from like the security office,
Mhm.
and they'll go and they'll say that their soldier has a continuous evaluation problem. I'm putting this in loose terms.
Right.
And that can go and be pulling information from the soldier's credit report, which is a whole nother story, credit report.
Yeah.
And just huge plug, annualcreditreport.com. If you have never checked your credit report, please go in to check it. And the COVID environment right now is allowing kind of weekly access. So please go check your credit report. Lots of identity theft. Okay, so I had to plug that in now.
Love that.
Um, but so the commander could go and refer that soldier to the financial readiness program at ACS and ask them to help to address those issues. And once everything has been addressed, then the financial readiness program staff will write a memo to go back to the command that says, hey, you know what? Here are all the actions that have been taken to rectify each issue that came up. And then the soldier may also come in from the S2 or the security office with a statement of reason, a SOAR, that says that there's items that are on my credit report that have been addressed that potentially could cause me to lose my security clearance. And then financial readiness program will then work with the soldier to go and help them to address each of those. And if they can make that positive progress, same thing, the financial readiness staff will go and put all of that in a memo and send it back to the security
That's
office.
awesome.
Right. So we know if security clearance is tied to your MOS, then any potential negative actions will impact your readiness as a soldier, but also the unit's readiness.
Yeah. The fact that you can go to the financial counselor and they can help you get some of those things off of your credit report too. We were literally just talking about that in the office before we came on here that I won't say any names, but somebody had a really bad credit score and had to get some things taken off. And
I
it is
get
a challenge. It's a process.
it's so complicated, right? In theory. But if that's why this staff has this knowledge base. They're all credentialed, right? So this is their bread and butter. And we have some great resources on our website for like free credit reporting and going and looking at consumer protection and credit reports and all that. It's all on our website,
Yeah,
so you can go on and look.
that's
But
awesome.
I don't want people to go off of the installation, go and pay a credit repair company to do the same thing that you can go and to do for free, right? For free. You just need to just pick up the phone and call the staff, the
Yeah.
trusted staff.
Well, and talking about credit scores, I think it's one of those things that's out of sight, out of mind. Like, how often do I really think about how often do I
Yeah.
see my credit score? How often should I think about my credit score? And when I was 20 years old, I didn't think about it nearly as much as I do now that I'm a little bit older. But it is
Yeah.
important. And my husband, for example, when he first joined, his credit when we first got together, his credit score, sorry, Adrian, was terrible. And but it just wasn't something that he worried about or
Yep.
thought about a lot. And so just, as you progress and you get older and you're buying houses and buying cars and
Yes.
all these different things, you're like, this does matter. And I need to start sooner rather than later worrying about it and making sure I'm
Yeah.
making the right choices.
Yeah, and one thing I just want to add on to that is, we talk about transition, right? Not transition isn't always via retirement. We
Yeah.
we can statistically see that more people are leaving through separation than through retirement, right? And credit scores, credit reports are becoming more of the norm of going and actually looking at employment verification and assessing about whether they want to hire you.
Yeah.
So that is something that's that we really need to start dialing into. And that's why we've incorporated that into all of our training, is because we see the value of it. And you can't remember, credit score is today is not going to be the same as it's tomorrow. It's just
Right.
not, right? But it's a really great indicator of where we are, holistically. But it's also looking at identity theft, and that is so
Yeah.
big, and is really big for the military. Identity theft within the military is so large, and especially parental identity theft, and that's by going and taking, your child's
Right.
social and using that. So, and especially if you have a common last name. I do not,
I don't
obviously.
either.
Mroszczyk is not a common name, but we know that, for folks that do have that, like a John Smith, right? Even just getting names mixed up can go and create
Yeah.
problems, and we just don't want that to impact your military
Sure.
service and then what you plan to do after.
Sure. So real quick, what do I want my credit score to be? What should I be aiming for?
I mean, so credit scores, and I know it's real quick, but then it's not real quick. It's because credit scores, they're based on multiple different scoring models,
Mhm.
right? So, and depending on which score your lender's looking at, like for example, right now we're buying a house, right? So depending on which score our potential lenders are looking at, it may
Sure.
move, right? So we can see that usually in the 700 range, you're going to probably have better access to lower interest rates, right?
Okay.
So that's kind of a, a
Makes
thing to aim towards,
Okay.
right? But look, I gotta be real, Ashley. A lot of these soldiers that are coming in are 18, 19, 20 years old. They're already having time as an issue, right? Because they
Yeah.
haven't been able to
Yeah.
build up that
Sure.
opportunity. So we try not to be so focused on credit scores, because the whole system can really monkey you up. You could be debt free, right? And that counts against you, right? Because they want to be able to see that you're going and having a payment
Making your
history.
payments on time.
So, yeah, we say just don't get too caught up in that, but at the same time, really be focusing on what's on your actual credit report and any potential
Okay.
negative things.
Well, that
Yeah.
makes sense. All
Yeah.
right. Last question.
Okay.
You're a military spouse. I'm a military spouse. So what would your advice be to an army family when it comes to financial readiness? What's your bottom line up front?
Gosh, my bottom line up front, not just to soldiers, to families, but also to commands, is that financial readiness truly is mission readiness. And it isn't just this invisible thread that's running through our lives, right? It's really this thick, glowing thread, right? That's pulsating, and that it's directly linked to all that we go in to do, right? We can see that it's linked to suicides. We can see that
Right.
it's linked to domestic violence. We can see that it's linked to, our fragility for economics, right? So we can see that. And so when a soldier, a spouse, or significant other, or a family member has financial problems, it really truly negatively impacts their view of the military life. And that can lead to a decrease in retention and dissatisfaction with the military way of life. And it can lead to a decrease in the soldier's military readiness and an increase in family and individual stress. And I'm sure you can all see how this then can impact unit readiness
Yeah.
and national security, right? So I often, and I'm not going to say often, all the time here that units don't have time to do all the training and that commands don't have enough time to manage all their responsibilities. And I get it, I do. So I offer this up. Do you have time to deal with an investigation from a suicide? What about a domestic violence situation where fitness or financial readiness played a factor? What about a security clearance
Yeah.
issue, right? So this what we're doing isn't just mandatory training. It's about getting through that frozen middle and getting to know your soldiers, your squad, right? If
Yeah.
Specialist Jones gets married over the weekend and comes up, on the radar as having to take mandatory training, that is a prime time for the command team that's responsible for the Soldier and Family Readiness group, by the way, to go and congratulate Specialist Jones, right? Say, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is great. How are you doing? Is there anything you're struggling with that we can help you out with? Can I get your spouse's contact information so that way we can go and get them squared away and do that warm handoff, right? It's about getting to know your soldiers. And yes, there's mandatory training associated with it, but it's so much more,
Yeah.
right? So, we have to start having the conversations on positive financial management, even long before soldiers even come into the Army, but then carry those tailored lessons when and where they need it based on those personal and professional milestones, right? And I just have to say that your senior leaders, like the SMA, have placed financial readiness as one of their top priorities. And we want to see our Army families succeed. And we want to be your biggest advocate. I promise you, I will be your biggest advocate that I can. But I can only lead you to those resources,
Sure.
right? I need you to step up and take advantage of those military resources, those personal financial managers and counselors that are free and confidential. I need you to visit our website, right? Financialfrontline.org, and start having conversations.
Yeah.
Work to make it not be a stigma or a taboo subject, right? And that's how we're going to create behavioral change within the Army on financial readiness.
Absolutely. Well, I love your enthusiasm for this
Oh,
topic.
thank you.
You're great. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I know that you are busy, and I'm not going to take any more of your time, but I'm serious. We may have to do a part two because
Yes,
lots
please.
of questions still. But again, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me and share all of this because I do
Thank
think it's really important.
you. Thank you so much for having me and inviting me. This is my biggest passion, and I honestly
Yeah.
believe, I mean, this is my Army family, so I got to take care of my Army
Yeah.
family.
Well, that's amazing. All right. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.